Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into the life of one of the most fascinating figures in modern history. The paradox of Paul Keres is literally one of the greatest what-ifs you will ever encounter. We're talking about a brilliantly gifted chess player, a guy with a mind capable of absolute undeniable genius, whose ultimate destiny was entirely thwarted by the devastating geopolitical forces of the 20th century. This isn't just some story about a board game. It's a profound look at human resilience when history itself just refuses to cooperate. Okay, let's dive into this bittersweet moniker that is universally recognized in chess history. He's known to this day as the Crown Prince of Chess. It's a title of immense prestige, sure, but it also carries this heavy weight of tragedy. Keres was arguably the absolute strongest player of his era, yet he never once played a match for the World Championship. His true opponent wasn't merely the person sitting across the board from him. His real adversaries were World War II and the Iron Curtain. Act 1. The Boy from Pärnu. Born in Narva, Estonia in 1916, Keres grew up completely isolated from the major chess capitals of the world. Now, what's really interesting here is how he managed to quench his absolute thirst for top-tier competition despite having virtually no formal chess education. His solution? He played up to a staggering 150 correspondence games simultaneously via postal mail. I mean, just imagine the sheer mental bandwidth required to keep 150 complex games organized in your head, waiting days or even weeks for a single move to arrive in the mail. It's wild. This created an incredible mini-narrative of a completely self-taught, ferociously dedicated prodigy. He started out by solving simple news table puzzles, eventually moving on to painstakingly copying out hundreds of master games by hand, just to study them. This relentless, self-directed methodology culminated in his international debut at the Warsaw Olympiad and then winning the Estonian championship in 1935 at just 19 years old. He literally built his own foundation from scratch. By 1938, that foundation paid off with what really should have been his crowning achievement. At age 22, Keres won the legendary AVRO tournament in the Netherlands. To put this in perspective, he finished ahead of 4 past and future world champions. It was the strongest tournament of his era, and this massive victory earned him the official right to challenge Alexander Alekhine for the world title. The match was set. The peak was right there in sight. But then, the calendar turned to 1939. World War II broke out, and the championship match was permanently canceled. Act 2, Pawn of Geopolitics. Let's move to and see how this builds, because this marks a very harsh tonal shift in his story. Keres was violently ripped from the ordered, logical 64-square world of chess, where rules are clear and strategy actually dictates the outcome. Instead, he was thrust into the chaotic, brutal reality of being trapped between 2 vast totalitarian regimes. The safety of the chessboard was totally replaced by the incredibly dangerous unpredictability of the Iron Curtain and the Second World War. So the crucial point is that his homeland of Estonia was caught directly in the crossfire, continually crushed and changing hands. In 1940, the country was occupied by the Soviet Union. Just 1 year later, in 1941, it fell under Nazi German occupation. And then in 1944, it was reoccupied by the Soviets. For Keres, his home was essentially a revolving door of military occupations, completely upending his life and career. During these war years, Keres was forced by sheer circumstance to just play for survival. He had to represent whichever regime was currently occupying his country at any given time. For instance, he played in tournaments hosted by Nazi Germany, including a 1943 tournament in Posen, organized by the Wehrmacht. It was purely a decision made out of necessity to survive the war. But navigating these impossible situations meant that when the war ended, Soviet authorities viewed him with deep, enduring suspicion. Act 3. The 1948 Conspiracy. The war was over, but Keres found himself trapped behind the newly formed Iron Curtain, right as the World Chess Federation was organizing a massive tournament in 1948 to crown a new champion. Keres was given his second chance here, but the story actually turns into a tense psychological thriller. Did the KGB intervene? Look, Keres played brilliantly against almost everyone in this tournament, except Mikhail Botvinnik, who happened to be the highly favored candidate of the Soviet state. Keres shockingly lost his 4 games to Botvinnik, effectively handing him the title. To this day, persistent rumors claim that the KGB directly threatened Keres, forcing him to throw those matches. While completely unproven, the geopolitical context makes it one of the most compelling and heavily debated mysteries in chess history. Despite this immense pressure, Keres developed an incredible grace. Because of his wartime history, he faced ongoing state harassment. We're talking KGB agents posted just outside his hotel rooms during international tournaments. To cope with this suffocating surveillance, he adopted an entirely emotionless, impenetrable demeanor at the board, earning him the famous nickname Old Stoneface. He simply refused to let them see him crack. An enduring legacy. And this brilliantly illustrates his final chapter, because despite everything, he remained in the absolute elite of global chess for 3 full decades. He was continually robbed of his absolute peak opportunities by war and politics, but he still defeated an incredible 9 undisputed world champions. He never got the crown, but his cultural impact was towering. In 1975, returning from a victorious tournament in Vancouver, Keres died suddenly of a heart attack. But his legacy in his homeland, it only grew. In the year 2000, he was posthumously voted the greatest athlete in Estonian history. His portrait was even placed on the national currency, the 5-krone banknote. He became this ultimate symbol of national identity and enduring brilliance. The sheer scale of what he meant to his people is staggering. An estimated 100,000 people attended his state funeral in Estonia. 100,000? To put that into perspective, that's enough people to pack a massive modern sports stadium. It proved a massive, lasting connection to his homeland that went far beyond just winning games. He was a hero who had navigated the darkest periods of their shared history right alongside them. Which leaves us with this final question from our explainer today. Is a formal title truly necessary to cement a legacy of greatness? Paul Keres teaches us a powerful lesson in resilience. He reminds us that true mastery, quiet dignity, and absolute grace under the most terrifying pressure can transcend any championship belt or trophy. Even without the crown, the eternal crown prince remains undeniable. So what do you think defines a true champion? Thanks so much for exploring this incredible story with me today.